All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Trent Evans. I'm a student here at Life Chiropractic College West, the Bellevue, Nebraska campus. This morning at our first annual Nexus conference on campus, we had an amazing opening keynote speaker. I'm honored to have with us Dr. Lona Cook. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Trent.
Yeah, so you have been here, you got here yesterday, right?
Yep, I got in yesterday.
What do you think of our campus so far?
Oh, it's awesome. I want to see the waterfalls, though. I haven't seen them on, and I was hearing about them from one of your professors, so I got to see this before I leave.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
See,
no, I'm
you got to come back in the summer, too, when the pond and all that. They have a lot of plants and everything.
Yeah. No, and you guys are the impressive part. It's pretty neat to see how this like small group, you guys already are so far ahead of, I think, many students as far as your like passion and your purpose already, and that's really inspiring.
That's great, and we really appreciated your talk to us yesterday. I know you've already inspired us, several of us students, to the point where we drove up to Wisconsin to see your practice and to see the schools and everything. Mm-hmm. And once again, thanks for hosting us with that. So, So with our communications club that we just started here, one of the goals is we've noticed that while we're in our circle here on campus, you know, we have no problem talking about chiropractic, and we have no problem discussing our health views and stuff with each other, because for the most part, we're on the same page on a lot of things. Not everything, but you know.
Yes. So,
and then of course, we go on break, we go home and talk to our family and friends or just other people. And those conversations do not go near as smoothly.
Right.
So, so we created this club to give us the opportunity to talk to people like you who you do this, you know, very often, and you've been doing it for a while now. And not only do you do speaking tours, you also have written at least one book, right?
Yep, a couple books.
Yeah, a couple books. Yeah, I've read one, and it was great. And I guess let's talk about that book. So, when you wrote the book, it was fairly early on in your career, right?
So just tell me where to start book. Yeah. I wrote that I started writing it 2 years into practice, because I got into practice kind of just, you know, it's almost like, what do they say? Like ignorance is bliss, right? I was blissfully ignorant, and it was a blessing on some level of just like not knowing what you don't know. And so you think you can do it. And I think that is part of the brilliance of opening sooner than later on some level, because you have the like spiz and the energy to just go and do it, and you don't have a million reasons why it's going to be hard. And so anyways, 2 years into practice, I found myself like with a pretty sizable practice built, and I reflected back like, oh my gosh, I just paid off my student loans. Like, I would have wanted to read a testimony of like, you can open your doors, you can become financially solvent quickly if you're smart about it. And that doesn't mean that that's everyone's goal or dream, but I just thought like this would have been helpful. And that was my reason for just like, I'm going to flip back through my calendars for the last few years and look at what some of the things were that I was working on and just write my story essentially. And I just felt like the right thing to do. And I had gone to school as a creative writing major, and of course my dad was like, what are you going to use that for? You're going to be a chiropractor. But now I can say I've used it a few times. So that was one of the things.
Yeah. Have you found that has helped you connect with your patients?
So my creative writing background?
Yeah.
I think of course. I find that when we are willing to look at what's helped us and then share that with someone, right? And do it in a way that isn't above their head as often as, I mean, like we get in our doctor language. And I think that's one of the hardest things in school is to remember, like, I got to figure out how to say this at a 6th grade level, not because people are stupid, but because nobody talks like that, right? Yeah. And from a communication standpoint, whether it's in writing or whether it's, you know, verbal or through video or what have you, like that's one of the challenges is like, how do I make this practical as well as like where people aren't going to just glaze over and not get through it, right? So I think any format of communication, working on it is a good thing. And the sooner you do that, it's going to help you with your patients. It's going to help you in whatever you're trying to lead within your community or within the profession. Mm-hmm.
So, leaning on that, what forms of communication are you currently using for your practice? Are you doing social media, and are you doing a podcast or anything like that?
Yeah, we are. Okay. So I think I have like ADD where I just have to do more and more, but it keeps my brain excited. So that's
hobby jumping.
Yeah, sort of hobby jumping. But also, I was just at a conference last week and I was talking about like, what role on the team are you, right? And my role on the team is really the visionary, right? So I'm always thinking about like, well, where can we go next? And how can we see more people? And how do we get this message out? And I obviously have people on my team that are more like the detail people, and I need them really badly, right? I also need the people that are like cracking the whip at me, like, no, like we can't look over there. We got to finish this other project, right? So, if you're listening to that and you're like, I'm the detail person, great. Like find yourself a visionary and work hand in hand. So, cause you both need each other equal parts, right? In our practice right now, we've gotten really organized around how we attract people in both to the brick and mortar practice and to the school-based practice, knowing that, if we have all these ways that we can communicate with people, why wouldn't we use them, right? Yeah. So, yes, we, for instance, just figured out how to do things smarter, not harder. We use testimonials and we take them to both use internally, like as pictures in the office, but also in our social media. And before it felt like that was a hard thing to ask people for their testimony. And we were all kind of assigned to like, oh, well, if you go into a reval and they have a great story, make sure you ask them if they'd be happy to share it, right? Mm-hmm. But it felt like pulling teeth when we were doing it. And so one of the things we realized is that, well, we had a new doctor on a team. She needed to meet everyone. So we just kind of threw a party and had food and stuff. And then she was introducing people saying, I'd love to hear your chiropractic story. And then just had a whiteboard right there to collect testimony. So it was amazing. I was like, gosh, how did this take us 15 years to figure out? Just bring food and have someone engage with you and you could get those testimonies. So in 3 days,
always helps.
Yeah, in 3 days we got like 60 some. And it was like, that was great. So we'll use those in our, meta ads or our Facebook and Instagram content. We also use Perfect Patients, which is a website builder that helps you just build a better website. And so they help us with our Google and presence. And then I use a company called CGA, which is Clinic Growth Accelerators. I tried for a while to learn how to run back-end Facebook ads and all that stuff and learned enough to be dangerous, but realized that I could not do, and it was wasting my time, what another company could do. So don't do that. If you're a chiropractor, be a chiropractor. But anyways, so we run those, and I think what it's taught me is like by using these different forms of communication, you're really just trying to spread your arms out, and whether it's meeting people physically one-on-one for coffee or, hosting a talk or being on Facebook and digital ads, right? Like these are all ways that people are going to find your message and then likely through seeing you in various places over time, develop trust enough where they're like, I think this is the place I want to go. So the more that you can have your arms spread out in your community and both online and in person and internally letting your people know that you would love to help them with their family members, like you'll have plenty of people coming in. Yeah.
Have you found with all these different avenues of communication, have you found that sometimes you are doing too much and instead of doing a really good job in a couple things, you're doing an okay job with several things?
Yes.
And is that okay?
Well, I think it depends on what phase of practice you're in, meaning I totally hear what you're saying. And when you're a startup, right? Like you are wearing, like I'm the marketer, I'm the CEO, I'm the chiropractor, I'm the, you're wearing all these hats. You're always wearing a lot of hats, but eventually you build a team around you, right? And I'm not saying you need to do the 100 ideas of marketing that's out there. You need probably 3 to 5 that really work well for you, right? But you should be hitting probably some sort of digital category, in-person category out in the community and internal, right?
Makes sense.
And then leverage those, meaning like, don't just give up when they don't work right away. Like, well, am I doing them to the best of my ability? Case in point, like organic referrals should happen if you're giving great care, right? But we also could create a system around asking for referrals so that more people understand like, oh yeah, like Dr. Lona's team would love to see more people, or they could help me with that. So these are just ways that we can get better at doing some of the things that we already maybe are doing. We just don't have a good flow around it, if that makes sense. And then as your team develops, like let's say now you're a team of 3 doctors, like you really are going to need to leverage more of the marketing options on the table, because you're bringing in new patients from more than just one doctor, right?
Yeah.